This is a Milnor 60-pound washing machine. One of the most critical things to this machine is that you load it and load it full. So if it's 60-pound capacity, you want to put 60 pounds of goods into the machine. If you underload the machine, it can cause damage to the bearing housing. So one of the biggest things that I need to show as far as maintenance and troubleshooting is the door's got to be closed, but up here on your control panel you have these keys. And this key right here, it kind of has the square that goes around and around like this. To go into a manual menu, you want to push and hold this key and then come to this top key and go to outputs. Then once you get to outputs, while still holding this button, you press the 1 button. That puts you into a manual menu. Now with a manual menu, you can go in and you can turn off and on all the components of this machine. In other words, I selected the hot water valve. If you press 1 once, it denotes it off. You press it again, and there's your hot water valve coming in. And you can go through, you can check your hot water valve, your cold water valve, drain solenoid, flush valve, just about every component of this machine. So if you have trouble with the machine and you like blow a fuse in the back, it's a good way. You can put a new fuse in. You can go through, test the output until you get to the point of what's causing the fuse to be blown, and as soon as you select that particular function of the machine, it will blow the fuse and you'll know right where to go to as far as figuring out what is going to ground. So
how many different fuses are back there?
There's 4.
4. Okay, so it'll be 4 different aspects that
now
4 different fuses.
You have two small glass fuses that are on your what's called start circuit board.
Mm-hmm.
And generally, if you have an issue with an electrical component in the machine, you're going to blow one of those 2 fuses. The other 2 fuses are larger 5-amp fuses, and generally you don't have a problem with those unless you have, like, if lightning were to hit a transformer close and you get a big power surge, it can blow one of those fuses. If not, the fuses generally will indicate there's an issue with an inverter, a transformer, or the motor itself. That's the big 5-amp barrel fuses. The little glass fuses mainly control your door lock, your water valves, your drain solenoid, power supply, so forth and so on. Now if we come around to the back, if you notice underneath the machine right here, there's a drain plug that I have my finger on. And this is where you want to drain your oil. Now based on an 8-hour day, say they were to run this machine for 8 solid hours, you'd want to change the oil in this machine 3 times a year, so every 4 months. Now I doubt they'll be running 8 hours a day to get, this is the drain plug right here. And that's where you will drain your oil from. So like I was saying, based on an 8-hour day, you'd want to change it 3 times a year, which will be every 4 months. And the way you would drain this is you remove this plug, this cork right here, and just set it here. And then you take an Allen head screw and remove this plug right here. Once you've removed these 2 plugs, then you unscrew your drain plug here and you drain your oil into a small container. And right
so
here,
when you do this plug right here, that plugs into this right here?
Well, what it is you open both these up because one will serve as a vent. So when you're adding oil into here, this will serve as a vent.
Oh, I see.
So it don't take a long time for the oil to get in there.
Okay, so the oil goes into the pipe. This is just a vent, like a breather hole.
Correct. And on this dust cover that is in place right back here, it tells you that it is 22 ounces of straight viscosity oil. It has to be either a straight 30 weight, 40 weight, or 50 weight. You can't use 1030 or 540 or any, it's just got to be a straight viscosity oil that you use. And so what you would do is once you get through draining it, on the end of this drain plug, you will have a magnet. So when you drain your oil, you want to check to see if you have any kind of metal shavings. If you have metal shavings, you need to give us a call right away. because of course this bearing housing, you know, it's 3 years on all parts on this machine. So if you get shavings, you want to give us a call so we can change out the bearing housing.
Okay.
Just metal dust. It could be just a little bit on the end of the plug. Is nothing to be concerned with. You'll get metal dust, but if you actually see shavings, at that point, that's when you want to give us a call and have that addressed. Now, when the machine is not in use, you want to leave the door open. When the door is shut, this contactor pulls in and this inverter is powered up. So when the door is open, this contactor drops out, the inverter powers down. So when you're not using the machine, you want the door to be in the open position.
Is this only for this model, or is it also for the the 300G machine that's over there?
Yes,
same thing.
Same thing.
Because they've got their doors closed.
You want to leave those doors open because if not, you've always got power coming through this contactor, and you always have this inverter powered up, and you don't want to have voltage running through it at all times.
Unnecessarily.
Right, correct. Now your two large barrel fuses that I was saying, this is your transformer, this is your inverter and your motor. Now generally if you have an issue, I'm just going to turn this off for a second. These are your two barrel fuses right here. And generally if one of these blows, you generally have a problem with the transformer, the inverter, or the motor. Now right here on this board, you see two small glass fuses right here. Those will be for like your water valves, your drain valve, your door lock. If you have a direct short, generally one of these will blow. Now these two solenoids right here, one is for your door lock and one is for your drain. And if you have trouble with either one of your drain or your door lock, you can test these ice cube relays by checking ohms across these 2 points. You have a stud that's right here, so these are your two coils coming in, and you can check, you can ohm these out to check to see if they're still good, and they just plug in right in there just like that. Okay, now the motor is sealed, so you do not have to grease the motor, so really the only maintenance is the oil change. Now you want to make sure that these cooling fins that are on the motor, you want to make sure that they don't get a lot of lint or dirt or any kind of buildup. So you might want to take like a little small a painter's brush or whatever and just kind of brush those out. Keep that clean. And then also on top here you have your inverter, and there's a little fan that's right here. And you lift this cover up and you'll see a little fan in there. You want to make sure that that fan is always, you know, when you check your oil, change your oil, check to make sure that your fan is running. And if you take some dusting, like for using for cleaning off a computer screen,
compressed air.
Right, compressed air, blow down. There's cooling fins all on the back side of here, and blow that dusting compound down there to keep those cooling fins clean. And that'll keep your inverter from getting hot. Now, right here, this is what's called your power supply board. And over here to the far left on these two red wires coming in, you have 240 volts AC. Now, what this component does is takes 240 volts AC and it transfers it to DC voltage. And you check your DC voltage right here on this plug. And you have to have a range of 5.01 to 5.12 DC voltage for this to operate correctly. So if say you lose your display, you have no display but your fuses are all good, and you check your voltage here and your voltage is lower than 5.01, what you can do is there's a little blue potometer that's right here, and it has a little baby screw on it. If you turn that screw to the right, it increases the voltage to the processor board. If you turn it to the left, it decreases voltage to the processor board. So if for some reason you were to lose your display, this would be where you'd want to start looking to make sure that you have your proper DC voltage going to your processor board.
Okay.
And that's pretty much it. They're very simple, straightforward machines. They're easy to work on. Of course, you have 3 years on all parts, 2 years all parts on your dryers.
Okay.
So if you have issues, you can just give us a call, and we'll be more than happy to come out and provide service for you guys. Now on your dryers, let's